What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is now 2019. Many of us have had our time off over the holidays, and we're finally getting back into full gear. I think this is the first full week of everyone getting back into the swing of things. If you're like me, you spent your downtime thinking about new ideas and sort of going into 2019 with some new thoughts and maybe some new product or service ideas ready to go. One of the things I wanted to talk about today, we're sort of testing these ideas out. How do we shape these ideas a little bit more before we go all in on a concept, right? So many of us will get these ideas, it'll strike some entrepreneurial gold, at least in our heads, and then we'll go out and start building the product without really refining things and understanding whether or not we should chase this new idea. I've had an idea sort of lingering around for quite some time, and really started to put some thought into it over the holiday break, really thinking about how I can monetize this, how I can really get this out into the open. And what I've done is gone through some of the paces that I'm going to talk about today and really found out, you know what, it's still not time to pursue this, at least in the concept that I originally had for it. And I'm going to share some of these practices of how I got to this point right now. So number one is let it linger for a little bit. Now, this idea has been sort of brewing for literally years, but if you're just getting a new idea in your head, I like to let these things sort of just sit there before I really go all in emotionally and mentally thinking about a new idea. One of the things that I normally do is I get an idea, I throw it on a to-do list, and if it's something that I think is salvageable, in other words, I'll revisit this at a later time and maybe start drilling out some finer outlines for it. But other ideas, I'll just sort of, you know what, I'm just going to forget about this right now. And if it comes back to me, then I kind of know there's something there, and that's when I want to pursue it. And that's what I've done with this idea. And it's a good thing to not just chase everything. I know it's sort of obvious, but sometimes we can get caught up in this hamster wheel of ideas, and really thinking about the execution doesn't come until it's too late. You sort of went and bought a new domain name, you went out and created a logo, you started thinking about all these like conceptual busy work things, but you didn't really give the chance to test the idea. That's what's going to lead us into these next points. Again, if you're like me, and I know many of you are, where you have a bunch of ideas, you maybe have a few things cooking, and you really start to look at, okay, have I given the other stuff on the stove a chance to fully cook? And that's sort of where I'm at. I've got a couple sort of product service things out there, these areas of content creation that I focus on, and I still feel like I haven't given them enough chance yet. And while this new idea is awesome, and I think it's going to have like great potential, these are all things that I'm just convincing myself of, and sort of not looking at the other things I have out there and say, how about I just give a little bit more attention in these areas first before I leave this idea or this product or service? How about I give it a little bit more love and give it a little bit more of a chance to succeed? Because maybe if it succeeded, I wouldn't have to be thinking about this other idea. So give these other ideas a chance. Give these other products and services that you might have sort of dusted under the rug many months ago or even years ago. Give them a chance. See if you can revisit them. There was a whole reason at one point you pursued those, which you're sort of looking at now when you're launching this new idea. Give them a chance first before you move on to the next big thing. So if you don't have any other products or services out there, you've sort of, end of lifed everything else on your plate, and you do want to continue to move on, it is very important, actually probably the most critical thing before you start tinkering and building the product and the website and things like that, is talk to as many people about this first. Talk to your potential customer. Talk to people who might be mentors or people that can give a lending hand in this sort of conceptual idea phase. Really talk to them and get their thoughts first, and try to get it as unbiased and as unfiltered as possible. You don't want people just giving you lip service and saying, hey, it's a pretty great idea. Yeah, I see some great potential there. See you later, bye. You want to really challenge people to say, do you really think I can make money with this? Do you really think that there's an audience for this or a group for this? Whatever that is. Really push them to give you the negatives that they see in your new idea, because you really want them to give you that insights before you get to market and learn all of this stuff the hard way. What I typically do is round up a bunch of people that I really respect and people that have given me advice in the past, and I say, hey, can I just take 5-10 minutes of your time and pitch you this new idea that I have, and really see how that process works. Really look for body language and sort of, are they really getting the concept, and really listening to them as they give me that feedback is super important. So if you have 2 or 3 people, or if you can cold call people in Facebook groups, right? If you have something that's aligning with a Facebook group, let's say a marketing idea, then you go into the content creators group run by Kim Doyle, and you kind of say, hey, I see some people that are sort of aligning with this idea. Do you mind if I, reach out and do a Skype session or a Zoom call with you for a few minutes? That might be okay. Really talk to people and get their feedback before you emotionally invest, financially invest, and sink all the time into this new idea. And if you pass that round and you're still continuing on, very good for you. Really start to question the market. Is this idea something that is an alternative to something else that's out there? Is it a direct competitor? Is it a third degree away from that, where it's really just this sort of far-fetched alternative? So there's a market leader, there's some other secondary solutions out there, and then yours is sort of like a kind of spin-off of all two of those ladders. Is it really something that you think that without massive promotion and many dollars to compete against the competition, or somebody's just doing it way better than you, is this something that can really feed into the market? Now, in the same token, if you're looking at creating an alternative to something, that's a good thing. Like getting into a tried and true market isn't a bad thing because the concept has been proven. There are people out there and you can directly sell and compete against that. But if you're coming up with something that's really far-fetched, or something that is a far-fetched alternative, a third degree away from something else, that's where it becomes a little bit more cumbersome. You have to do a lot more convincing. You have to do a lot more marketing. And then people might just look at you as, yeah, that's nice, but these two other things over here, they already do it really well. And that's really the battle in creating a new business or a service or a new product, is creating that sort of question mark of, gee, do I go with solution A? Do I go with Matt's new great idea? That's the battle that we all face, and really helping you market and navigate those waters as effectively as possible is critical in the early game. You really don't want people getting confused by a product or a service. You really want them to say, oh yeah, it's the Uber of XYZ. It's the Airbnb of XYZ. You really want to make that as easy as possible to understand. So question the market. Look at where you're going to fit in with this new concept or idea. Are people blogging about this, podcasting about this? You make the call by doing your own research in the marketplace. And then lastly, again, this is just about refining the idea. This isn't creating the product. We're not, selling a product yet. I'm not talking about creating an MVP. I'm simply talking about refining an idea, and that is by making a statement. A lot of people will go in and create a business plan, forecast projections, and I really think that that's way too soon to create that kind of master plan. What I like to do is just create a statement, just a blank Google Doc or Pages doc of, what is the product name, what's the tagline, who is it solving a problem for, what does your potential audience look like, and what's the cool features and benefits that people might get. And then it's all question marks at this stuff. You're still in that conceptual phase with this idea. So everything is a theory. Everything is a best guess. How do you think you can monetize it? Where do you think the best way to market and reach new potential audience members are? And more importantly, with this new idea that I'm still going to be launching soon, but just not in the fashion that I had intended to, I did a statement and I sat on it for a while, and I kept revisiting it and looking at it and just saying, this sounded great when I was writing it down. I was super pumped up about it. But then I started thinking about the legwork that it would take, the amount of time that it would take to get this going. And monetization was still sort of in the air. And as I'm going into 2019, the theme is intent. Like, my intent is to create content that is going to either dramatically grow an audience or simply make more money. So again, in the concept of my WordPress tutorial channel on YouTube, if I create more tutorials, can I make a little bit more money in AdSense? Can I make a little bit more money in affiliate links? And I can drive traffic there. I can create content. It's pretty straightforward. Whereas this new idea was something much more conceptual. I'd have to kind of sell this concept to people. I'd have to market it. Although I'm still going to release it in a very, very small iteration, I'm just not going to go head first into something that is going to be just a time suck, and then I'm still fighting to prove out if this has been a good success or not. So that's the way I look at it. If you can create a statement of your new idea and sort of just look at it, talk to other people about it, get something written down on paper that you can kind of measure against, I think that's the best way to sort of button up that idea before you start going out to that sales pitch, that pitch deck, and start creating the concept. Make a statement, review it, refine it, see if it's something that you really want to pursue. And now the bonus piece of advice in all of this stuff is, can you start like super small? Can you take your idea and just cut a portion off of that idea and get it out into the market in some kind of form or fashion? For me, it's creating a podcast around this new, let's say, service you might be creating. So what's the core component? What's the core value of this new service or product that you're creating? And can you create this sort of masterclass, this series of interviews of people in this industry, people who are loosely related to this, people who might be just entertaining around this topic? Can you create a series of a podcast or video series around this and just throw it out there as a marketing tool for maybe your existing businesses, but as a way to just plug away and see if this idea picks up? If people are commenting, sharing, if people are generally excited to talk about this particular subject with you, well, maybe you're onto something. And you didn't have to like create a product, set a price point, even create a website for that matter. You could really go in and just create this sort of thought leadership piece, even though I don't really love that word. You can create this thought leadership around this to test it out before going all in. And that's starting super small. It's like micro MVP, if that's a thing, before getting it out into the open. That's what I have for you. It's mattreport.com, mattreport.com/subscribe to join the mailing list. Let me know what else you want to see on this channel. Let me know in the comments below. Do you have new ideas for 2019? How are you refining them? What are some of the battle scars you've had with launching ideas and not seeing them really get to the level that you want? Let me know in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video.